their presence here are now the guests of the National Assembly. I know a lot of you are the constituencies from the education sector, and we are happy that you are here to support your budget. You are all welcome. I'll now ask the Secretary to read the first order of the day.
Debate on vote number 15, Higher Education and Training Appropriation Bill.
Ngizocela ungqongqoshe umhlonishwa uBlade Nzimande azokhuluma mphephetho.
Honorable Chairperson, Cabinet colleagues who are with me here today, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Honorable Mduduz Manana, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, Comrade Pinky Posa, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Director General and staff of our department, the heads, all the heads and executives of all our post-school organizations and institutions who are present here today, employer and business representatives, my wife Upumelele, and Kaniw, honored guests, and my special guests who are up there in the gallery, ladies and gentlemen and comrades. The agenda for the transformation of our education system was shaped by decades of struggles, including the struggle of people's education for people's power. This agenda was translated into government policies by the ANC government as from 1994. On this, the 60th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, we can say that much has been done to open the doors of learning and culture. For example, black and women students are now in the majority in our universities. And the National Student Financial Aid Scheme has spent more than 50 billion rands to support more than 1.5 million poor students. Another important sign that we have been making progress is the fall in our dropout rates at universities. In 2005, the first-year dropout rate was 25.1%, but in 2012, it had dropped to 19.1%, a significant difference. However, we still have a long way to go, and transformation efforts must continue uncompromisingly. Despite the significance of symbols such as names and statues, we must not conflate these with more fundamental matters of transformation. There remains an urgent need to radically change the demographics of our professoriate, transform the curriculum and research agendas, cultivate greater awareness of Africa, eliminate racism, sexism, and all other forms of unjust discrimination, improve academic success rates, and expand student support. Some institutions have made substantial progress in transforming themselves, but others have lagged behind. Focused attention, Honorable Chairperson, by all of us is required on this matter. This year, I will pay close attention to accelerated transformation in our universities, including setting concrete targets and transformation indicators. I urge the Portfolio Committee to do the same. Later this year, I'm convening the second Higher Education Summit as part of this focus. I'm also resourcing the Transformation Oversight Committee to assist us in this regard. Honorable Chair and honorable members, on some further specific interventions in our universities, we need to say the following. The South African university system has a good academic reputation, and over 70,000 foreign students come to study here. Most of these are from SADC and other African countries. According to a study by the Center for Development and Enterprise, only 5% of graduates are unemployed. I hope the DA is listening. Only 5% of university graduates are unemployed. Not the kinds of figures that you try and throw around.
Order, honorable members, can we please allow the speaker to be heard?
Although we don't encourage our universities to chase international rankings that may not reflect South Africa's developmental needs, it is still gratifying to note that in the recent QS university rankings by subject, 7 of the country's universities cumulatively appear 15 times among the top 100 globally across the disciplines. Nonetheless, it is also true that some of our historically disadvantaged institutions still perform substantially below par. The violence against foreign nationals has caused harm to our country. It is essential, therefore, that foreign students and staff feel safe in our institutions. I have written to all the vice-chancellors to ask them to be vigilant in this regard. Our university education system is expected to grow from a headcount enrollment of 983,698 students in 2013 to 1.1 million in 2019. We confidently expect to achieve the target of 1.6 million students by 2030 as per the National Development Plan and our white paper. On the basis of the report, my committee on the review of university funding, I established a technical team to draft a revised funding framework. I have already accepted some of the recommendations, including the implementation of a historically disadvantaged institutions development grant of 2.050 billion rands over the next 5-year period. This should enable these institutions to become financially stable and improve the quality of their governance, teaching, learning, and research. We are also investigating the cost drivers in higher education to better understand the reasons for fee increases. I see the president of SASCO there, Uzwile Mongame. The Sefako Makgato Health Sciences University opened in January 2015 with more than 5,000 students when it incorporated the Medunsa campus of the University of Limpopo. It was officially launched by President Zuma on 14th April 2015, my birthday. As a comprehensive health and allied sciences university, it is the first of its kind in South Africa and will offer a broad range of programs from higher certificates to PhDs. I can see we are still conference drunk, the DA. That's why we are so noisy, we are like little children. One of the highest priorities in the post-school system is the quality of teaching and learning. My department is supporting universities through a number of programs. These include expansion of foundation provisioning programs to assist underprepared students.
Point of order, Chairperson.
Minister, can you take your seat? Honorable Mponjane, what is the point of order?
I'm terribly sorry, Minister, to interrupt you, but would the Minister also refer to the leadership of other student formations like SADESMO?
Honorable Mponjane, that's not a point of order. Can you please take a seat? Honorable Minister, can you proceed?
I also hope SADESMO is happy when I mention the issue of confronting fee increases. These programs of supporting universities on teaching and learning also include investing in university infrastructure with most of the funding going to historically disadvantaged institutions. Disability and maintenance audits to improve accessibility for students and staff with disabilities. Last year, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, I committed to focus on developing educators at all levels. This year, my department will implement a program to strengthen universities' capacity to produce quality teachers for all subsectors of education, including early childhood development, primary education, college education and training, as well as for learners with special needs, including the training of academics. As committed in 2014, I recently approved the Staffing South Africa's Universities Framework, a comprehensive approach to building capacity and developing future generations of academics and to increase the number of highly capable Black and women academics at all levels. Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, unless we make specific interventions to attract young Black and women academics, we are not going to change the professoriate in this country going forward. And I hope that all our universities will collaborate with us on this important project. For the 2015 medium-term expenditure framework, the budget of our department, excluding direct charges, projects increases over 3 years at an annual average rate of 5.9%, from 39 billion rands in 2014-15 to 46.3 billion in 2017-18. The amount of 41.8 billion for 2015-2016 is an increase of 2.8 billion or 7.3% on the 2014-15 allocation. Direct charges, which represent the skills levies for sector education and training authorities and the National Skills Fund, are expected to increase at an annual average rate of 9.5%, from 13.2 billion in 2014-2015 to 17.4 billion in 2017-2018. And to that, cheers. Disabled people have not been fairly treated in our country. We must admit that. Despite lots of work that has been done by government. On our side, as post-school education and training, I have appointed a committee that will look into mainstreaming issues of disability into the entire post-school education and training system. But our Deputy Minister will say more about that. In the previous budget vote of the department, I committed to expand adult education and establish 9 community education and training colleges. 9 community colleges administrative centers were established in all provinces on the 1st of April this year, allowing for the merger of existing public adult learning centers into community colleges. These colleges will be a new type of institution, initially catering for those who do not qualify for admission to TVET colleges or universities, including those who never went to school as well. The community colleges will prepare students for the labor market or for self-employment, as well as offering the national and general senior certificates for adults. Pilot community colleges will be established in 2016, although the exact number has not yet been determined. Thereafter, the colleges will be progressively rolled out in all provinces. Since 1994, adult education has been located at a directorate level at both national and provincial departments. Yet we estimate that there are 18 million South Africans who need adult education and training. This is larger than our schooling, university, and TVET colleges systems combined. I will therefore establish a branch on adult education and community colleges in my department, which will be headed by a Deputy Director General. TVET college enrollments have more than doubled over the past 5 years and will continue to increase, targeting 725,000 headcount enrollments this year, an increase of just over 39,000 on 2014. The pace of growth will now be reduced, however, to focus on quality improvements, including reviewing the policy for the National Certificate Vocational, lecturer development and improving student academic success, college improvement plans, capacity building initiatives for student representative councils. Last year, I committed to building new college campuses and establishing a foundation program in maths and science. A comprehensive proposal on the foundation program is now complete. Construction work at 3 of the 12 planned new TVET college campuses is underway, and later this year, we will take delivery of the Tabazimbi campus, brand new. I also committed to the transfer of all TVET colleges and adult education staff into my department, and indeed, this has happened on the 1st of April, 2015. We have now grown from a department of less than 1,000 to close on to 40,000 staff members, and we say welcome to the new members of Team DHET. We continue to make steady progress in catching up on the NCV certification backlog. 496,544 certificates have been issued since 2012, with 103,000 certificates still being processed. The students affected by the problem do have statements of results, so this does not hold them back from further study or employment, as they can get a letter from the department that confirms that they comply with the requirements for the certificate. Ngoba sifuna imkokotelo yeitifiketi nabantu abathi banetifiketi bebe bengenazo, kungako sifuna ukwenza isiqiniseko ukuthi le tifiketi ezingakaphumi baba uMpontshane siyazikhipha ngoba siwumnyango othanda abantu. Since its inception as TEFSA, as I have said, we have awarded lots of bursaries and loans for students. For the 2015-16 financial year, the NSFAS budget from the department comprises 4.9 billion for university study loans, 2.2 billion for technical and vocational training college bursaries, and 148 million for administration. This is supplemented by recovered funds and donor allocations, making up a total of 9.5 billion rands. And I have today invited 3 university students and 8 TVET students who have benefited from NSFAS to be with us today, and I welcome them warmly. So that you see that NSFAS assists real human beings, not things that do not exist. I-EFF ayithule ngoba yazi ukuthi ngikhuluma ngani. Aniyazi kwalento engikhuluma ngani. The alignment of education to the labor market remains essential to skills development. Work placement of learners in colleges has increased over the past few years. Whilst this is not a compulsory part of the qualification, we believe it has a significant benefit for students and improves their chances of employment. The department has developed an online registration system for students seeking work-integrated learning or work-based learning opportunities, and for employers who wish to provide training opportunities for students. This system will go live by the 1st of October 2015. We have been centrally involved in skills development for and through the country's strategic integrated projects. In my previous budget speech, I committed to publish and launch a Skills for SIPS report. Today, we are releasing a progress report on what has been done on this score. I hope that honorable members went through our exhibition and managed to get a few. Our Deputy Minister is going to talk a bit more on artisan development. I'm not going to talk about that. On the SETAs, when the SETAs were established, there was insufficient regulation, and each SETA operated in isolation. Over the past 5 years, we've sought to improve this situation. A lot has been improved, but a lot more still needs to be done. This year, we are reviewing the skills system, and I'm going to Cabinet for the endorsement of a consultation document for purposes of relicensing the SETAs next year. And we are on course and we are in progress. Siyaqhuba, siyasebenza. We are also developing a national plan for post-school education and training, which will consolidate our work towards 2030, and we will be releasing this, we'll be finalizing this work by March 2017. This financial year, I will introduce the Higher Education Amendment Bill, as well as amendments to the Skills Development Act. These amendments also aim to strike an appropriate balance between institutional autonomy and public accountability of universities. Over the past year, various draft policies and reports aimed at accelerating transformation have been published, including social inclusion policy framework, recognition of prior learning, and the South African Qualifications Authority principles on articulation, including, by the way, instructing SAQA to take up the fight against fake qualifications, as well as those who claim that they've got qualifications which they do not have. And we want to establish a naming and shaming list so that those who have lied with their qualifications must never, ever be employed in the public service. In conclusion, I would like to conclude by thanking all the staff of our institutions for their efforts. I would also like to thank employers that are opening their workplaces for training. I'm grateful to the Deputy Minister, Mr. Mduduzi Manana, the staff of the Department of Higher Education and Training, led by our DG, Mr. Gwebs Konde, my personal staff in the ministry, and our public entities. Also, allow me to thank the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee for always working with us cooperatively and holding us to account as well. It's not the DA that holds us to account. It's the Portfolio Committee led by Ms. Pinky Posa. We don't account to the DA, we account to Parliament. Finally, my sincere gratitude also goes to the President and my cabinet colleagues for their support. I would also like to thank my family for its continuous encouragement. Together we will move South Africa forward through the provision of quality and affordable post-school education and training. Siyaqhuba, siyasebenza. Nina i-EFF kusafanele chairperson sibaphindisele esikoleni njengoba sakha nje zonke lezi zinto ke niyofunda ukuthi yini lezi zinto esikhuluma ngazo. Siyabonga. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for making our work easier. Also, you were on time. Ngiyalong dawucela lilunga lihloniphekile usihlalo welkomiti lezemfundo ephakeme uMake Phosa.
Honorable Chairperson, the Honorable Minister, and other ministers present here this afternoon, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training and other Deputy Ministers present, honorable ministers and, okay, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, honorable members of parliament, the DG of the Department of Higher Education and Training and other DGs present, officials from the Department of Higher Education and Training, chairpersons of councils, chairpersons and CEOs of the public entities, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by expressing my word of gratitude to the Minister of Higher Education and Training, Honorable Dr. Blade Nzimande, for having presented to this august house a comprehensive policy and budget speech that responds to key directives contained in the January 8th statement of the ruling party, the African National Congress. Your presentation also responds adequately to the needs of our communities as expressed in the overwhelming mandate that the ANC obtained from the people of South Africa in the 2014 national elections. From our analysis of the relevant documents, including your annual performance plan, your submission is in line with priorities listed in the 2015 State of the Nation address by the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, Mr. Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma. It is also aligned to the budget speech delivered by the Honorable Minister Nhlanhla Nene, the Minister of Finance. Honorable Chairperson, let me remind the House of what President Zuma said on January 8 this year, which captures the essence of the policy and plans of the ANC and government on education. Understanding what was said will assist this House to appreciate how the budget that is before us will add to the effort made in the last 21 years to take the country closer to the ideal enshrined in the Freedom Charter, which is that, I quote, "The doors of learning and culture shall be opened." The President said, I quote, "Education continues to be our #1 priority. The ANC has made great strides in ensuring that education and training is available to all and addressing the injustices of the past," end quote. Honorable Chairperson, some of the priorities pronounced by the President, most of which have been operationalized already, are 1, the opening of 3 new universities, 2, the construction of 12 new TVET colleges, 3, the refurbishing of 2 TVET campuses, and 4, the improvement of infrastructure at higher education institutions. The Department of Higher Education and Training 5-year strategic plan, the MTF and the APP are aligned with these priorities. These priorities highlighted by the President and those listed by the Minister of Finance are precisely what the country yearns for and what we must continue to pursue. This is what we have borne in mind when we interrogated and evaluated the submission made by the Honorable Dr. Nzimande to the committee. Let me commend the Honorable Dr. Nzimande for the good work and the significant progress made by his department. In a short space of 6 years, building on the good foundation laid from 1994, the department has made a huge impact in the country. The decision by the ANC-led government to separate basic education from higher education and training was wise and correct and beneficial to the people of South Africa. Honorable Chairperson, 16 days ago, we commemorated the 21st anniversary of our democracy on Freedom Day. Freedom and education are intrinsically linked. This was eloquently expressed by Mr. Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, when he said, I quote, "On its foundation is the cornerstone of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development," end quote. While cherishing our hard-earned freedom, we must always remember that this was attained partly due to the assistance from the people and leaders of many African countries during our bleak days of apartheid. I therefore add my voice to those of the millions who have expressed their condemnation of what appears to be xenophobia in our country. Many of those were acts of violence and criminality against foreign nationals. Let me add my humble advice to members of this august House to note that the assessment and clear directives given in various forums by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, and request that we all commit to ensuring that the issue of violence against foreign nationals is kept on our collective agendas until it is permanently resolved. In this regard, it is worth noting that the Honorable Minister, Dr. Nzimande, and the higher education sector in general have played a part in quelling xenophobic attacks, Afrophobia, and acts of criminality. Praise also goes to students at various institutions of learning for staging solidarity marches and for throwing their weight behind our fellow brothers and sisters, including the over 70,000 students and thousands of lecturers from outside our borders. According to the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, education is a human right with immense power to transform a nation. The founding president of our democracy, Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela, put it succinctly when he said, education, I quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." Honorable Chairperson, when it comes to service delivery, specifically in the higher education and training sphere, it is imperative that we align our efforts with what is articulated very clearly in the Freedom Charter. The ANC government regards this alignment as a constitutional imperative. The 2015 State of the Nation address states it clearly that, I quote, "During this year of the Freedom Charter and Unity in Action to advance economic freedom, we rededicate ourselves to unity and hard work to ensure continuous success in our beautiful country," end quote. This means that as we celebrate its 60th anniversary this year, the Freedom Charter has to become the light that illuminates our paths in our endeavor to continue navigating towards increased access to quality education, ensuring equity, and redressing inequality. The Freedom Charter further states that higher education and technical training shall be opened to all by means of state allowances and scholarships awarded on the basis of merit. Objective analysis and research indicate that the ANC-led government has done reasonably well in ensuring that more people have access to education. The white paper on post-school education and training emphasizes the importance of both access to and quality of education, and these are reflected in the department's annual performance plan and the proposed budget before us. Honorable Chairperson, the democratic government under the leadership of the ANC has doubled university enrollment in the past 20 years from 420,000 to 900,000. Over 205,000 university students and over 200 TVET colleges students are currently funded by the government through the National Student Financial Aid and bursaries provided by the department. While we welcome the increase in intake of students, we urge higher education institutions to continue providing quality education and skills relevant and responsive to the economy. We will appreciate the NSFAS fund. While we appreciate the NSFAS funding, we condemn in the strongest terms the alleged irregularities and acts of corruption related to NSFAS. We commend the Honorable Minister for having instituted forensic investigations to put a stop to these heinous acts. We reiterate our call for the private sector to continue utilizing the resources at their disposal to be an instrument of change and support higher education. By responding to these, the private sector will be promoting economic
Honorable Chair,
growth.
the time is up. I would now like to ask Honorable Bozzoli and I hope the Deputy Chief Whip will do the orientation next time so that members know where they must sit when they have to speak. Honorable Bozzoli.
Honourable Chairperson, thanks for that tip. Higher education has been in the news, with roads falling, Hitler rearing his ugly head, and the DA winning the Fort Hare SRC elections. Our universities are churning out the headlines. But we prefer to indulge in spectacle rather than to tackle the hard issues of educational practice. What quality of education are our students getting? This question is hardly ever explored. And what could be more important to the future of our country than the quality education of our youth? The budget going directly to our 25 universities, which between them, our university sector is neglected in the extreme. There are three effects of this institutionalized meanness and lack of enlightened leadership. One, the system can't truly modernize. With a few exceptions, our universities and our colleges are behind the times. Many of them have dated courses which do not address the most advanced thinking or the most sophisticated contemporary skills. And research is funded at levels which are laughable by international standards. Two, the system can't pursue excellence. Those teaching in our universities and colleges are ground down. Their salaries are abysmal. They are demotivated by the treadmill created as class sizes balloon and the quality of matriculants deteriorates. And the government has no hesitation in cramming more and more students into this sector. They know where their votes come from. But is there ever any additional funding to pay for more lecturers? No. Why not? If a school expands, the government allocates more teachers. But if a university doubles in size, it just has to build bigger lecture halls, and the teaching load of each academic doubles instead. This would never be tolerated in any unionized sector of the economy. Our permanent university staff-to-student ratio has grown in the past 20 years, from 1 to 38 in 1994 to 1 to 55 in 2014. In the UK, it is 1 to 17. We really are a joke, internationally speaking. Even worse, in real terms, the university subsidy per student head has gone down over the past 21 years from 20,000 to 16,000. Our universities are slowly being squeezed to death. Three, the system can't afford new blood. The system is so underfunded, it can't afford to bring on board a new cohort of professors and lecturers. I repeat, the system can't afford to do it. Why? First, academic salaries are too low. What self-respecting young professional would stay in a lecturing job where they may earn less than a rock drill operator? The answer is none. Second, the costs of PhD training are high. Becoming an academic takes 10 to 12 years of full-time education after school. This rarely happens here. There is no money for it. No wonder there's an outcry on this matter from academics. In this, the government plays a mean game. The minister frequently publicly bullies our most distinguished vice-chancellors and our older academics in the very universities he is there to champion. But it is the older generation of academics that is valiantly keeping the system going under the present appalling financial conditions. When they retire, there will be nobody to take their place. In the last 21 years, the ANC government has done nothing to fund the production of a new generation of academics. Even in Botswana, students have long been sent, their expenses paid for, to obtain PhD training in the US and the UK. On their return, they have been guaranteed new state-funded posts. Botswana now has a competent and experienced local academic cohort. Rwanda has a scheme to fund the international training of their brightest and best. Billions have been put in by these and other African countries into fast-tracking the next generation into university teaching. The ANC-led government is squarely to blame for the failure of this country to produce a new generation of academics. This budget contains within it funding for a new scheme which the Minister may think is our equivalent. Chairperson, I say to the Minister, your scheme, which was not even your own idea, is too little and far too late. No new funding has been voted for it. This is the case with dozens of innovations Minister Nzamande introduces. For shame to the Minister and to the Treasury for their disingenuousness. What we in the DA envisage is a multi-billion rand higher education development initiative, like that put forward by China in the 1980s, by Russia in 2010, and by India with their renowned IITs. Such a scheme should significantly and permanently raise university subsidies and salaries. It should put hundreds of promising young graduates into the best international universities to get PhDs with guaranteed state-funded positions upon their return. If we do this, within 10 years, we will have a new generation of outstanding scholars in our universities. We will attract back some of the demoralized professionals who have left universities, and higher education will be able to pursue excellence. Minister, please don't tell us about transformation in universities until you have done a bit of transformation of your own budget. We do not support this budget. It is grossly insufficient for the purpose. In fact, it is an insult to the young people of this country. Thank you.
Honorable Mbata.
Honorable House Chair, to all the SRCs under the control of the EFF leadership across the country, to our fighters at home, greetings. Since this is the year of the Freedom Charter, I could hardly say anything better about our higher education system. All that I could say is that the doors of learning and culture are not opened. Here is the statistics. The University of KwaZulu-Natal received 90,000 applicants from students seeking positions and admission at the university. It could only admit 8,400. The University of Zululand received 71,000 applicants. It could only admit 3,900. Wits University received 54,000 applicants. It could only admit 6,400. This is the sad story of what has become of the higher education in South Africa. According to your own overinflated statistics, you claim that there are over 425,000 opportunities available for further education in South Africa every year. But the reality of the matter is that we have 600,000 young people who write matrics, and almost close to 300,000 of those who have dropped out with the system. And also we have those that pass with 30%, and those that dropped out between grade 10 and grade 12, and hundreds of thousands of those that were rejected in the previous years. The combination of this confusion delivers us to the joblessness, the unemployment, and the frustrations of entering higher education in South Africa today. This means that every year in South Africa, there is about 1 million young people looking for opportunities. This is the story of shattered dreams. Our universities, no matter what you say, Minister, still do not have the capacity to absorb students that are even produced every year by the basic education system, contributing to massive unemployment, crime, and other general ills of our society. So whatever that you see as the outside of society represent the outside of what we cannot offer our own people. The second crisis faced by post-secondary schooling system is that even those that get admitted in the university system, there are no proper support systems. They go into lecture halls that are not properly supported. They have no books. They have no proper accommodation. There is no proper support for tuition. And most disgustingly, they go without food attending classes. This is the example, Minister, of what we have done. This is the example of what we have done, Minister, in one university. In the University of Limpopo, the student SRC controlled by the EFF has spent the SRC money of operations to support every poor, hungry student to the value of 26,000 rands a day. While your SASCO control SRCs are doing bashes and parties. Less said about NSFAS, the better. To name the following. Your NSFAS, Mr. Minister, no matter how you grow it, the reality is it still funds half of those deserving students, in particular the poor working class students. What is also glaring...
Honorable Mbata, your time is up.
Honorable Minister, we thought that your communist background
Honorable Mbata,
will lead us to free education.
your time is
Your
up.
communist background has been a letdown to higher education.
Mbata,
We missed the blade, the communists,
order,
not the
honorable
blade to
member.
have been swallowed. We need free
Order,
education
honorable
now.
Member. Honorable members, may I appeal to all of you, you have been given your allocated time as different parties and members. You also, on your left, have the watch where you can time yourself. I will ask all of you to assist us. Honorable Mponchane.
Mphathiswa Sihlalo, baphathiswa ongqongqoshe nabanye baphathiswa ongqongqoshe bemenye iminyango. Honorable Chair, today I want to focus on one theme because, in my view, it constitutes the current narrative at the institutions of higher learning. We have heard and still hear a cacophony of voices clamoring for transformation, a big word. These voices call for transformation in inter alia, curriculum, symbols, language of tuition, profile of personnel, financing of students, and student accommodation. When we hear all these calls, we must not assume that the concept transformation is understood in the same way by all its users. Otherwise, there will be no resistance to it, in my view. Transformation, Honorable Chairperson, is not ideologically neutral. Transformation requires a total break from the past, especially if that past was troublesome as ours was. We need to know what ideological foundations will underpin the type of transformation we want. However ideologically different we are, a balanced view on transformation, vision, and mission can be achieved. We have a precedent. During CODESA talks, though ideologically different, we reached a settlement. But, Honourable Minister, we need to prepare ourselves. Take, for example, the call for curriculum transformation. There is a call to change from a Eurocentric to an Africanized curriculum. Even here, we do not have the same understanding. The question, however, is, do we have enough and well-qualified academics and lecturers to lead this Africanization of the curriculum. Without the right people in the right places, the whole drive for curriculum transformation becomes useless. We do not need another OPE situation, Honourable Minister, where things ended in disaster. Superficial changes to institutions, such as name changes, do not in themselves address the fundamental lack of radical transformation. Successful transformations need strong and focused leadership. This type of leadership is there, I presume, in our tertiary institutions. Together with the ministry, this leadership can hold a successful transformation in Daba. I'm glad that you have already mentioned in your speech, Honourable Minister, that you are thinking of calling one. Transformation must, in fact, start right at the level of teacher training. The caliber of teachers that will be needed to take transformation ideas forward must be improved. The best way to do this will be to redesign the way we train our teachers. We must do away with the training of first-time teachers through distance learning, as we witness the phenomenon at UNISA in Durban, where I often drive past. It's a sad story, or it's a sad sight. Transformation.
Honorable Mponchana, your time is up.
The IFP, however, supports the budget. Thank you.
Honorable Kubisa.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, as a country, we cannot afford to fall behind the pace of social development lest we sit with a situation akin to the current energy crisis in higher education and training in the years to come, of course. Every year, our population grows, more learners pass matric than before, and more learners qualify for admission to various institutions of higher learning. If we do not build and expand capacity now to match the pace of social development, South Africa may well find itself with severe skills shortage in the years to come. The NFP is concerned about the slow pace of progress with regard to the vitalization and expansion of the role of TVET colleges within the overall context of higher education and training. We know that there's a slight increase with regard to the budget for TVET colleges, Honourable Minister. But what is important is how we match these TVET colleges, what is taught within them, with the workplace. And of course, what is it that the department and TVET colleges are doing to track the students that have graduated from TVET colleges? Where do they go to? Are they employed? That is an issue that we need to attend to, because to me that is important. Do they fall off by the wayside? What happens to them after graduation? Our biggest concern, however, remains the failure of NSFAS to bridge the gap between the educational injustice of the past and the skills needs of our country. We note, Honorable Chairperson, that there have been a plethora of issues and challenges within the higher education and training sector. And we can mention them. They have to do with accommodation. They have to do with NSFAS. Funding does not come on time. Most of the students who go to register find themselves sleeping on the roads, especially in big cities. The case in point is UNISA, for instance. You find students in a long queue getting into the streets, exposing them to danger. These are the issues that we've got to face if we could correct the situation. The NFP recognized that there are plans to adapt NSFAS to the new student model system, but remains concerned about the implementation thereof. We believe that the administrative bureaucracy, which bedevils NSFAS assistance from reaching students, is a major contributing factor to the slow graduation and high dropout rate. Financial exclusion of deserving students because of NSFAS failure is a damning shame, which the department must address as a matter of agency. Honorable Minister, I was shocked at some point that national students were tabling their concerns, but they were beaten and they found
Honorable
themselves outside
Khulisa.
the institution.
Honorable
I must
Khulisa,
say
your time
also, Honorable
is up.
Minister, you've got to fill in
Honorable
the vacant post,
Khulisa.
and that must be attended to. Thank you,
Your time
Honorable
is up.
Chairperson.
Thanks to you too. Honorable Mkhunu.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, Ministers and Deputy Ministers present, Honorable Members, the Department, the academia and distinguished guests in the gallery, I greet you. Let me say it from the onset that as the ANC, we support the budget. Honorable Members, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, so said our late president. His Excellency President Jacob Zuma, on behalf of the ANC, declared 2015 as the year of the Freedom Charter and unity in action to advance economic freedom. The ANC government has realized that economic freedom cannot be achieved without quality higher education. Consistent with the Freedom Charter's clause that says the doors of learning and culture shall be open, and with the Bill of Rights in our Constitution, which categorically states that everyone has the right to further education. The ANC-led government has progressively invested in post-school education in order to free our people from the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Members, given the fiscal constraints explained by the chairperson earlier, I think we should welcome every increase in the budget. The university sector has allocated 32.8 billion in the 2015-16 financial year, an increase of 7.9% in nominal terms. The bulk of this budget would be spent on sub-program 6, university subsidies, which is meant for transfers to universities, Council on Higher Education, South African Qualifications Authority, and National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Honorable Chairperson and members, the National Development Plan and the 2014-2019 Medium-Term Strategic Framework have set goals for the university sector to be achieved. Some of the goals include targeted increase in the following areas: university enrollment, the number of artisans, PhD graduates, number of entry academic staff receiving teaching and research development grant, and increased number of black entrants in order to transform the historical and social composition of the academic workforce, to mention but a few. We hope that through subsidies from the department and income generated through third stream funding and student fees, these targets would be incrementally achieved. Members, in our engagements with Higher Education South Africa, Fiscal and Financial Commission, Human Science and Research Council, and Statistics South Africa, to get a deep insight into the adequacy of funding in the sector, they all expressed concerns on underfunding. Let me commend the department for opening the 3 new universities and the provision of over 2 billion infrastructure development grant to the historically disadvantaged universities. These measures are welcome developments if we are to address the social imbalances of the past. Chairperson, let me welcome the visionary leadership of our minister in the establishment of the National Institute for Humanities and Social Sciences. We hope to see growth in enrollment of students in a variety of postgraduate programs, increased PhD graduates, and research publications. Honorable members, the funding that has been made available for the development of African languages is welcomed. However, of great concern is that few universities applied for this funding, We therefore call upon all universities to take the opportunity availed by the department in promoting African languages. Members, let us commend our universities for achievement made thus far. Among these achievements, one is the increased gross enrollment ratio in terms of race groups in the system, increase in research output in terms of postgraduate students and publications. The number of PhDs members is also increasing. Our universities are producing world-class groundbreaking research, and we are grateful to the Department of Higher Education and Science and Technology for publicizing this for the nation to know that South African higher education is taking its position in the world of knowledge production. Universities have appreciated the financial assistance from the department in the form of infrastructure and efficiency grants. We have seen developments in the expansion of lecture halls, laboratories, libraries, and student accommodation, to mention but a few. Honorable Chairperson and members, despite achievements identified, we want to acknowledge that we still have challenges, and they include: one, your NSFAS funding. Despite the fact that the department had over the years increased NSFAS funding, the ever-increasing tuition fees poses a challenge. In the eyes of the students, NSFAS funding is inadequate. The question is it really the shortage of funds for NSFAS, or the problem is the ever-increasing tuition fees, which in many cases is way above the inflation rate? Honorable Mbata, this puts a strain on our efforts to increase access to post-school education. Nevertheless, NSFAS continues to be an enabler to access and success in higher education and training. On student accommodation, we acknowledge that student accommodation is a challenge in our higher education institutions. We welcome interventions by the department, and of course, universities are availing a matching fund for funding infrastructure for student accommodation. However, there is a shortfall. We are calling upon the department to move with speed, as accommodation is crucial for both student retention, performance, and success. We want to further commend the department for organizing the Student Accommodation Symposium to be held on the 22nd of June, 2015, where all stakeholders will get an opportunity to engage. We hope from these discussions, a lasting solution will be found. Members, we are concerned about the misrepresentation of national and foreign qualifications. We urge the minister to deal with this one. We know that he has started. Again, the high dropout rate, the minister has touched on it. I want to speak on transformation, which remains a challenge in higher education institutions. We know that universities have put policies in place to address issues of transformation and equity in both student enrollments and staff complements. It is of great concern that 20 years after democracy, some of our institutions continue to be exclusive and exclusionary. Honorable Chairperson, the committee visited the University of Northwest, purchased from campus last year. It was said to listen to experiences of Black students and staff at the campus. The hegemony of Afrikaans language as the language of transaction in the whole campus alienates non-speakers of the language. The committee was also concerned with the demeaning initiation practices that are still observed at the campus. The apartheid racial divide continues, even in the presence of all transformation policies. The racial tendencies are not unique to University of Northwest. Other incidences were recorded in the University of Pretoria and Stellenbosch. Our university councils and management need to spread the spirit of oneness and social cohesion. As the NDP clearly says,
your time
that universities are key to a developing nation. Again, ANC supports the budget.
Honorable the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Honorable Manana.
Honorable Chairperson, Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nzimande, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee members, and all members of Parliament, the Director General and staff of the department, heads and executives of all our post-school entities and institutions, employer and business representatives, my family and friends, the public gallery, honored guests, our special guests, comrades and friends. It gives me great pleasure to address this House today on the occasion of the tabling of the budget vote of the Department of Higher Education and Training. Today, we and many of our portfolio organizations and institutions have converged in the city of Cape Town, not to revel in just another annual pastime, but are here with increased confidence, believing that our new experiences, the exciting achievements scored, and the instructive failures and setbacks encountered have equipped us to navigate the terrain ahead of us much more wiser and with tactful thinking. Honorable Chairperson, last year we launched and declared 2014 to 2024 as the decade of the artisan, with the sole aim of creating a pipeline of qualified artisans who can play a crucial role in growing the emerging sectors of our economy and in turn create massive employment for our youth. To this end, we remain steadfast in our work of elevating the status and profile of artisans in the country. Our conviction to see our TVET colleges becoming institutions of first choice remain unfazed, and our robust and frank engagement with employers to open up their workplaces for our artisan learners to gain workplace exposure remain uninterrupted. Honorable Chairperson, to further build impetus on the work we are doing on the artisan front, this year we will participate in the WorldSkills International competitions for the first time as a fully fledged affiliate to WorldSkills International. In the public gallery today, we have 21 young South Africans who will be going with me to Brazil in August this year to compete against young people from over 72 countries competing in 19 artisanal skills areas. These young people, thank you. These young people were selected at our inaugural WorldSkills South Africa National Competition that took place here in Cape Town in January this year. These competitions, honorable members, are another way of harnessing our energies towards the decade of the artisan, and they will sure contribute meaningfully in the overall economic growth of our country. Honorable Chairperson, when I spoke in this august house a year ago, I pledged that this department will direct all its efforts towards creating skills opportunities for our youth, especially those who still live in the most rural and remote areas of our country. We are back in the house this afternoon to give a report back on what we have done and what we intend doing going into the future. Honorable Chairperson, our sector education and training authorities, the SETAs, are making sound interventions in communities with dire distress by skilling young people so that they can in turn be eligible for employment. In the last financial year, a total number of 175,562 young people entered into learning programs, and these are young people who would have otherwise been disgruntled, but they've since regained their confidence, and many of them are now in employment. A further 244,069 young people will be trained over the next year. Honorable Chairperson, we are also intensifying our internship program, and perhaps it is worth mentioning that in the 2014-15 financial year, the department took over 130 interns from universities and colleges, and we intend taking another 160 over the 2015-16 financial year. We urge all government departments and portfolio agencies and entities, as well as the private sector, to intensify their effort and especially consider taking up interns from our TVET colleges. Honorable Chairperson, the Higher Education AIDS Program is continuing to implement comprehensive programs to respond to the impact of the dual epidemics of HIV, STIs, and TB in the higher education and training sector. Today, we report with a sigh of relief, confident that the measures we have put in place will result in better returns on investment and better student throughput rates. I will continue in the coming year with activation programs of promoting HIV testing and TB screening, targeting our rural and township university and college campuses. In the last financial year, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, we managed to test over 101,000 students and staff for HIV and screened another 92,000 for TB and 81,000 for STIs. In this financial year, our target is to test and screen 170,000 students and staff, but we'll also be making sure that those who test positive are put on treatment, care, and support. There is no doubt, honorable members, that it will only take a healthy nation to breed a healthy economy. Honorable Chairperson, the Apply Now campaign is now being implemented across the rural and township schools in the country. We're disseminating information on the need for matriculants to apply in time to institutions of higher learning. And we have partnered with the Department of Basic Education in the training of life orientation teachers and in the distribution of the Apply Now booklets to all grade 12 learners across the 6,000 high schools in the country. Since the launch of the Apply Now in 2012, we have managed to minimize walk-ins and long queues in our institutions of higher learning, especially at the beginning of every academic year. One of my special guests today is Nosipho Ndlovu, who wrote to me in March this year and said, and I quote, "Deputy Minister, it was only after your visit to our school at Diepsloot in May 2013 that I got encouraged to apply on time to 3 universities as per your advice. I got accepted by the University of Cape Town, and I'm now pursuing my second year in civil engineering funded by NSFAS. I really wasted no time. And thanks to DHED for making my dreams come true. Siyakubongela nathi Nosipho, ngathi ungaqhubeka kahle nezifundo zakho zomnjiniyela." Honorable Chairperson, last year we launched the Social Inclusion Policy Framework, which will, amongst other social inclusion issues, advocate for the establishment of disability units in post-school education and training institutions, and also address the important issues of reasonable accommodation and access for students with disabilities. Notwithstanding these advances, Honorable Chair, the department continues to fund students with disabilities for their tuition, assistive devices, and other personal needs like accommodation and transport. I will be intensifying the campaign of visiting special schools in the country to promote post-school opportunities for persons with disabilities as well as funding opportunities. Honorable Chairperson, as government, we are convinced that if we pursue the sectors that the growth path has identified as growth points, the potential of creating an inclusive economy that is on a growth trajectory is indeed huge. There is no doubt, therefore, that young professionals and cooperatives in particular must come into this space so that together we create this inclusive economy that we're all yearning for. We have, however, seen many cooperatives getting established in our country, but very few succeeding, and we attribute this failure to lack of training in areas such as cooperatives management, financing, conflict resolution, amongst other things. I have asked the Director General and the department to investigate the possibility and the implications of establishing the country's first cooperatives academy, and I will report to this House in due course on the progress we're making in this area. Honorable Chairperson, also during this year, we will start with the piloting of e-learning at selected teaching and learning delivery sites as part of our response to a wave of dynamic education sector reforms, specifically related to the adoption of educational technologies to enhance teaching and learning practices, education management, research and administration. Indeed, siyaqhuba, siyasebenza. Let me take this opportunity and thank the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency J.G. Zuma, for the trust he has shown in me and the continuous support he gives us. To Dr. Nzimande, thank you for the guidance and teamwork that we continue to demonstrate. To the Director General of the Department, senior officials and the entire DHED team, thank you for the valor you continue to display. To the Chief of Staff in the Ministry, the Acting Head of Office in my office, and the entire Ministry staff, thank you for putting up with us and for forever willing to go beyond the call of duty. To members of the Portfolio Committee, thank you for the sound advice and guidance when we need it most. To members of my family and friends, thank you once more for the unflinching support that you continue to give me. Honorable Chairperson, we are a nation with great goals. We may not reach them all this year, maybe not in this decade, but we will eventually reach them. The lesson of our history and the lesson of the last 21 years is that great goals are reached step by step, always building on our progress, always gaining ground as we build on the hope of our people. Of course, you can't gain ground if you are standing still. Our commitment and seriousness can only be judged by the extent to which we use our past lessons to devise better strategies and solutions to the many challenges that confront us as we forge ahead to a prosperous future. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. I now call upon Honorable Groenewald.
Agbare voorzitter, ek wil vir die agbare minister sê dat, en vir die mense van Suid-Afrika, as die minister praat van transformasie, dan sê hy eintlik, daar is nie plek vir Afrikaans by universiteite nie. Die agbare minister het 2 stelle reëls. Hy het 1 stel reëls vir daardie universiteite wat net Engels doseer, en vir daardie universiteite wat nie eers net Afrikaans doseer nie, maar wat oorwegend Afrikaans is. Uit 38 universiteitskampusse is daar net 2 kampusse. Die Noordwes Universiteit se Pik kampus en Stellenbosch wat oorwegend Afrikaans is. Nie net Afrikaans nie. Maar as die media kom en hulle gaan verwring 'n basiese beweging wat deel van 'n liedjie is, deur swart en wit studente by die Noordwes Universiteit se Pik kampus, dan is dit die minister wat eerste 'n verklaring uitreik. En dan is dit die minister wat vertel dat dit eintlik niks anders is as 'n nasie se lied nie. En dit sterk veroordeel. Agbare minister, terwyl u weet, dit was glad nie 'n nasie se lied nie. Maar dieselfde minister, as die voorsitter van die studenteraad van Wits Universiteit, Adolf Hitler besing, om vertel hoe goeie mense sy, en eintlik hoe intelligent hy is, dan swyg die agbare minister. Dan is hy bewusteloos, dan is hy in 'n koma. Want tot vandag toe, agbare minister, het ek nog nie gehoor, dat u dit veroordeel nie. Dan sê dit mos u is bevooroordeel, teenoor die Noordwes Universiteit se Pik kampus. U sê taal moet nie 'n hindernis wees vir studente om by universiteit te studeer. Ten spyte daarvan dat artikel 6 van die grondwet en artikel 29.2 van die grondwet dit baie duidelik stel, dat dit 'n grondwetlike reg is, dat 'n persoon in sy moedertaal hoër onderwys kan ontvang, en selfs enkel medium instellings wat daardie moedertaal kan bevorder. Dis grondwetlik. Maar u sê dit moet nie 'n hindernis wees nie. As daar nou 1 universiteitskampus is, wat beslis gesorg het dat dit nie 'n hindernis is nie, dan is dit die Noordwes Universiteit se Pik kampus. Maar agbare minister, ek daag u uit. Gaan nou op die webadres van die Universiteit van Kaapstad. Een van die toelatingsvereistes voor jy by die Universiteit van Kaapstad kan studeer, is dat jy 'n taaltoets in Engels moet kan slag. Met ander woorde, die Universiteit van Kaapstad stel taal as 'n hindernis vir sommige studente. Want as jy nie die Engelse toets slaag nie, dan kan jy nie studeer aan die Universiteit van Kaapstad nie. Dis mos dubbele standaarde. Dit in 'n provinsie waar 60% van die mense in daardie provinsie Afrikaans praat. Agbare minister, die meeste mense wat Afrikaans praat is nie wit nie. Dis breinmense. So u mislei u self as u dink dat as jy Afrikaans praat, dan moet jy wit wees. Dit in 'n provinsie. Met ander woorde, in die provinsie is daar 'n universiteit wat taal as 'n hindernis gebruik as toelating tot daardie universiteit vir Afrikaanssprekendes. U het dubbele standaarde. En ek wil vandag vir u sê, agbare minister, moenie die IQ van mense onderskat nie. U sê by 'n simposium in Sandton dat u niks teen Afrikaans nie. Agbare minister, ek het niks teen u nie. Maar ek wil vir u sê, die dag as u nie meer 'n minister is nie, is Suid-Afrika baie beter af. Ek dank u.
Thank you very much. Can we now call upon Honorable Nkadime?
Modulasetulo wa Lekgotla la Ntlo ya Itlhomphegago ya Palamente, Letona la tša Kgoro ya tša Thuto Dr. Nzimande, Motlatsa letona la kgoro ya tša thuto Morena Manana, matona ka moka dikgoro tša mmušo wa go fapana, maloko ao a hlomphegago a ntlo ye, baeng ba rena bao ba hlomphegago, ke a le dumediša. Modulasetulo ke motlotlo go fiwa sebaka se, gomme ke rata go tšweletša taba ye ka segagešo ke re, kodumela moepathutse ga go lehumo le le tšwang kgauswi. Ke bo gape ke re montsoša bošego ke mo leboga bosele, gobane moyamahlong a tau o ya a swere serumula gore a kgone go tšwetša pele mananeo ao mmušo o etilego pele ke ANC o a tšweletšang ka bokgwari mananeo a go swana le skills development. Chairperson, the ANC support the budget. The overarching vision for education that the ANC seeks to pursue is people's education for people's power. Education is an apex priority of the ANC, and it is a core element of social transformation. The NDP emphasizes that by 2030, South Africans should have access to education and training of the highest quality. Taking its premise from the Freedom Charter's clause, the doors of learning and culture shall be opened. Education and under the ANC have evolved, that great advances have been attained, such importantly addressing of past injustices. The expansion of enrollments in all post-school institutions, especially for Black and other previously disadvantaged people. Honorable Chairperson, a foundation for skills development has been laid by ANC-led government for intervention in these areas. Legislative environment has been prepared through different laws that were passed by Parliament and policies to facilitate intervention for skills development. The Skills Development and Skills Development Levies Act, the National Human Resource Development Strategy, National Skills Development Strategy, regulations, policies, and different accords have been signed to remove all bottlenecks that hampered skills pipeline. The Ministry of Higher Education and Training has developed a white paper on post-school education and training. This white paper has built seamless pathways of education that will enable the system to connect from basic education, adult education and training, vocational training, labor market, and higher education and training and lifelong learning. Community colleges have been established to extend access to education and training for those who have been educationally disadvantaged. Mushumu Uchabadiat. Honorable Chairperson, skills development is not a responsibility of one sector, but all the sectors working together. This requires all sectors of the economy, government, state-owned entities, the private sector, the institutions responsible to education and training, both public and private, to invest resources and energies in tackling the skills shortages. Honorable Chairperson, the 2014 ANC election manifesto committed to advancing reforms in skills development to ensure employers and labor in partnership learning institutions to carry out more technical and artisanal training. We note the existence of the 2011 National Skills Accord. However, we want to see the environment where almost all employers get involved. I trust that with these good policies, infrastructure expansion, quality of provisions of training programs, and partnerships between skill levy sectors, training institutions, and employers, we will develop like Germany. They started somewhere and learn with time. Honorable Chairperson, one of the commitments of the 2011 National Skills Accord is to make internship and placement opportunities available within workplaces. This is further emphasized in the 2014 to 2019 medium-term strategic framework that there should be an improved interface between SETAs, workplaces, and education and training institutions. The NSD requires SETAs to partner with TVET colleges to facilitate this partnership for the purpose of placements. Let me say that this is already bearing good fruits, honorable members. Since the implementation of the accord, we have seen partnership in the sector. Over 41,000 learners has been enrolled for artisan training by 2013. Over 21,500 completed artisan training by 2013. 14,961 TVET and universities of technology students were placed in workplaces. 150 learners being trained in ESCOM Welding Academy. 34 TVET colleges had 343 combined partnership with industry by 2012. We know that the National Skills Fund is also hard at work funding national priorities. Honorable Chairperson, I'm dedicating this budget speech to my dearest mother, who's turning 95 years old today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we now call upon Honorable Carter?
Thank you, Chairperson. Half of our population is now made up of children, teenager, and young adults born after 1990. This amounts to some 27 million born frees. According to the Institute of Race Relation report, aptly entitled Born Free but Still in Chains. Unemployment amongst male and female born frees of working ages running at 67 and 75% respectively. While South Africans account for 0.77% of the world's population, we account for 1.9% of the world's youth unemployment. Although Africans now account for more than 2/3 of university students, only 16% of Africans between the ages of 20 and 24 are enrolled in universities. This is a sad state. Only 38% of students admitted to universities are likely to obtain a 3 or 4 year degree with 5 years, and some 51% are unlikely to graduate at all. The report also notes that currently there are more youth enrolled at universities than there are enrolled in technical and vocational colleges. This should not be the case. The fact of the matter is that the majority of our, and I'm calling it FET, TVET colleges, are in a shambles. Changing the name, Honourable Minister, will not cure the disease. Even you, Honourable Minister, have acknowledged that these colleges are not effective and that the output quality is really poor. Mr. Minister, put the red revolutionary rhetoric aside and tell us practically how you intend to turn the situation around. You have indicated government's desire to increase artisan and workplace training. Why is it that under the majority rule of a ruling party, we always take 2 steps backwards and a half a step to the left? The SETAs have been an abject failure. According to Stats SA, the African population in particular is not being well served by the skills and development system in its current form. Whilst Jill Marcus, the former governor of the Reserve Bank, is recorded as saying that the record of the SETAs has been patchy at best, so there is no coherent focus on skills training. Let me repeat, there is no coherent focus on skills training. The NDP calls for the need to produce 30,000 artisans per year by 2030, compared to the current 13,000 artisans produced per annum. Here's another example of 2 steps backward and a half step to the left. Maybe we should try 1 to the right. Subsequent to the ascendancy of the ANC regime, artisanship was effectively abandoned without any adequate replacement having been put in place. 6 months, a year is not artisanship. 5 years with all the appropriate experience that you need. As the opportunity arose post-1990 to open up the apprenticeship system to Africans, so the ANC government shut it down. Minister, the ANC regime professes to be a developmental state, yet it appears intent on following Staline's policy on slashing and burning. The fact of the matter is that our born frees, our youth that entered this world in a country but then had so much hope, have been betrayed by those that promised a better future for all. How can one expect to address poverty, unemployment, and inequality if one is producing born frees who lack the skills for gainful employment or the skills to create their jobs? Honourable Mbata mentioned the sad challenges in respect of capacity and admission in universities. As the Congress of the People, we want to make a plea to you, Honourable Minister, that especially when it comes to medical schools, we need 3,000 doctors at least every year. And currently, the capacity is only 1,300. We really need to give attention to trying to get more.
On that note.
Just to close off, to our born frees,
thank you very much.
please remember, the pen is mightier than the sword. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We now call upon Honorable Killian.
Chairperson, Minister, Deputy Minister, other ministers present, the department, the DG, other entities present here today, and our dignitaries in the gallery, and honourable members. Although the ANC would clearly have wanted additional funding for this vote 15, and specifically for certain programs, we believe that this year's budget allocation will enable the department to achieve its 2015-2016 strategic objectives, which will be a critical milestone towards the implementation of the National Development Plan. Chairperson, as expected, opposition parties today focused mainly on well-known capacity challenges, institutional monitoring and budget allocation. Those were identified by the department itself, and it was extensively discussed in the committee. The Portfolio Committee already expressed its concern about underfunding of certain programs. They choose to focus on a half-empty glass. We, as the ANC, prefer to focus on the half-full glass. The political debate in this assembly has unfortunately largely descended into flimsy arguments interposed with doomsday rhetoric. This approach does not only polarize our country, it undermines a sense of common purpose and belonging, a common identity. But let us focus and not forget where we come from. Perhaps some were too young to remember, others conveniently forgot how South Africans have overcome much more serious challenges.
Order,
A mere 25 years ago, the world was watching to see if South Africans could avoid a full-scale civil war, to see if our leaders could broker a political settlement and agree on the founding principles of our constitutional democracy in order to proceed to credible elections for all South Africans. Surely today's generation owes it to the country to find practical solutions for the persistent challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment in a constructive manner. But let us for a moment celebrate the achievements in addressing the social injustices of before 1994, when the first democratic government took over. They had to produce a master plan to eradicate the legacy of more than 350 years of colonial and apartheid rule. Since 1994, government prioritized funding for social development, health, and education, which has resulted in a significant reduction in poverty levels. Census 2011 has confirmed that the annual household income has doubled between 2021 and 2011, a 113% increase. No-fee school policy has resulted in a massive increase in secondary school enrollment, from 51% of students to 80% of students. That was in 1994, currently. Young children from poor families have benefited greatly from access to no-fee education institutions. All of this obviously increased pressure on the post-school sector, which expanded remarkably. According to the General Household Survey of Stats SA, published last year, the percentage of adults 20 years and older who have received a post-school education qualification increased from 9.3% in 22 to 12.8%. This is progress, Honourable Chairperson. Furthermore, we also have to look at however, we have to look at the Household and Employment Bulletin of 2014, which shows that we are having a serious problem with certain sectors of our community, in particularly the cohort 15 to 24 and the cohort 25 to 35, where we have altogether 33 million on the one side and 4.2 million, 3.3 million and 4.2 million who are not in any education institution and they are not employed. Most of these people are in certain poor provinces, we all know that. Gauteng does have it, KZN followed by the Eastern Cape. The majority of them Black African and more women than men. Chair, however, yes, I have to drink something. This underlines the very critical task of the department. But we must also not forget what has happened in the TVET sector over the past couple of years. NSFAS bursaries for FET students increased from 100 million in 27 to 2.2 billion this year. This is significant. These are bursaries, not loans. Enrollments in TVET colleges more than doubled in 12 years. Audited figures of 2012 showed that of the total enrollment of students, 88% were African. Our students have a very serious interest in vocational education and training opportunities. There are challenges, for sure, Chairperson. We have to increase our throughput rates in the TVET sector. The department has already developed capacity building programs for college lecturers to enhance teaching and learning standards. Maybe the Honourable Carter can come to our committee and then she will understand what we are doing to address these shortfalls. Capacity building programs for management and board members have also been developed and they will be put through. Efforts will be made to improve relations between training institutions and the industry. The possibilities are endless and we dare not fail the nation. Chairperson, we now need to focus on quality training and practical qualifications throughout the TVET sector to build a seamless transition from training into the workplace. We could do that as a nation in 2010 during this World Soccer World Cup. We can do it again. But like then, we will need the active participation and commitment of the private sector, industry and employers, even from the opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now call Honourable Mbinda.
Honourable Chair, honourable members, the late founder member of the Pan-Africanist Congress, Professor Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe, once said, education is service to Africa. As the PAC of Azania, we believe that the higher education is key to accessing the knowledge for development. There is a high correlation between higher education and development. Therefore, investment in education should intensify. But we should try for an improved education system. You must remember that the Ministerial Committee review reported that as a country we need 51 billion to address the challenges of underfunding in higher education. But currently the government is not even funding 10% of that. The PAC believes that lowering tuition fees is not far-fetched, and to think that a system of free education is unrealistic would be absurd, as demanded by IPASMA, Honourable Minister. When the government spends money on education, this grows the economy. and to invest in free education would create jobs in the economy, and that will also provide the resources. The funds that are provided by NSFAS do not support all the students. If parents earning more than 150,000 per annum cannot afford to take more than one child to school, yet their kids do not qualify for NSFAS. A large minority of graduates get into careers that will never pay enough for them to repay their loans. The education syllabus should be aligned to be skills-based with the short syllabus, Thank you, Howlers. With the shortage of skills in our country, as PAC, we propose that Elusikisiki Teachers College, Isekukuni College, Netsomo Agricultural College, and all other training colleges in occupied Azania must be reopened. About half of the graduate students drop out of university without having completed their degrees. Universities are not only a mass-serving machine, but a place where intellectual activity, qualitative research, and criticism are supposed to flourish. Degree courses leave graduates overqualified with respect to skills necessary to carrying out jobs. Obviously, there are some highly skilled and well-paying jobs for which there is a shortage of qualified graduates. But the normal skills acquired in most degree courses are not exchangeable to them. The PAC is of the view that the recognition of prior learning as per the Skills Development Act is paramount in order to recognize the skills into education system. There should be a process of recognizing skills acquired through on-the-job training by focusing education and training on skills that university courses can cultivate. We shape a system that is socially wasteful and dysfunctional. And we must remember that radical transformation or socialist education is the answer, and we cannot do that unless the land is returned to its rightful owners. Because we believe that land is money, land is wealth. Up until such time the land is brought back to the indigenous people, then
thank you very much.
Be that as it may, Honorable Chair, we support the vote.
Thank you very much. We now call Honorable Kasim.
Honorable Minister, before I begin, I thought I should inform you that whilst you've chosen specifically to greet only the SASCO president here today, he was on the radio the whole of last week publicly distancing himself and his organization from you and from the ANC after DASO humiliated them at the University of Fort Hare. Secondly, I find it quite worrying when you say that you will not be held to account by the official opposition and only by Parliamentary Portfolio Committee members, when one by one, each of them come to this podium and thank you whilst you are doing a bad job. So I can't understand, and perhaps now it's clear why you perhaps have convinced yourself that you're doing a good job, but I'm not going to do that, and listen very carefully. Honourable Chairperson, the higher education and training budget put before us does not represent progress. I cannot in good conscience support a budget together with plans which are destined to fail the majority of our people, particularly the poor and vulnerable. Succinctly put, the current crisis facing higher education in general and students in particular is symptomatic of the following: an ANC government that values patronage over progress and will never allocate sufficient budget, a minister who embodies this patronage by appointing or protecting his cronies who run public entities and colleges as their own fiefdoms, and a department without the capacity or political will to ensure that even the current funds available are spent efficiently and that students are safe from exploitation. Let me start with NSFAS funding. The NSFAS increase from 2015-2016 to 2017-2018 is less than 1 billion rand. whilst the department's subsidy allocation over the same period only increases by 700 million. This whilst it is common knowledge that much less than half of students who are financially needy can currently be assisted with this budget. Just as worrying is the fact that the administrative capacity of this public entity will halve over the same period, where currently it cannot ensure that funds are dispersed properly. This mirrors the overall lack of capacity in the department to ensure even mediocre service delivery. You, Honourable Minister, and your department have become a curse and disease to the students of this country. The cronies you have deployed into the SETAs, for example, have by and large wasted billions of rand, running most of these SETAs as their own personal fiefdoms, with the cost to benefit of its core functions surmounting to over 300 and 400,000 rand per student trained or assistant. And all the while, you and your department have done nothing. NSFAS money at universities and TVET colleges are being diverted for the benefit of more of your cronies and their friends, and yet again, all the while, you and your department are doing nothing. This can best be illustrated through what is happening at the University of Fort Hare and Lovedale TVET College in the Eastern Cape, which are symptomatic of what is happening at most institutions across the country. At the University of Fort Hare, the management has been allowed to divert NSFAS funds into its own coffers and into the coffers of private service providers whilst exploiting its students. This has been done through massive increases in tuition and residence fees. Residences, where I must add, Honourable Minister, our NSFAS students are being forced to stay in the most squalid of conditions. I invite you to come and visit those conditions instead of attending your Gucci communist activities. This whilst students have not received a single meal allowance, yet we expect them to succeed in the examinations that are starting at the end of this month. Your department and public entities should be investigated, but surely one does not want to investigate their own cronies. I have written to you on this matter, and you have not even cared enough about these students to respond on that. At Lovedale TVET College, the situation is even worse. NSFAS students have not received a single meal allowance, not just this year, but the entire last year. Those staying more than 10 kilometers away do not receive transport allowances, and many NSFAS beneficiaries were forced to pay an upfront registration fee at the beginning of this year. Here again, we have college principals running colleges as their own fiefdoms, wrongfully firing whistleblowers and wasting millions of rands in frivolous court cases. Honourable Minister, you are respondents on these court cases. You know about them. And I've personally seen emails to your Director General, Gwebs Konde, from a whistleblower as far back as 2011. Yet currently, the status quo remains. During last year's budget debate, Honourable Minister, I challenged you to commit that no student should be prevented from furthering their education or skills training, both postgraduate and undergraduate, just because they cannot afford to do so. Typically, you do not respond to this challenge. The past weekend, the Democratic Alliance adopted this as a resolution at its Congress. It has become clear that the ANC and yourself will never implement fee-free higher education for poor qualifying matriculants, and the DA is the only party that presents a credible alternative on this issue.
On that note,
South Africans are becoming aware that the only way to achieve this is to do what the University of Fort Hare students did, to vote out the ANC and to vote in the Democratic Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Order. Can we now call Honorable Kekan?
Honorable Chair, Honorable Ministers, all Cabinet Ministers present, deputies, DGs, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. The debate is hot and we're all enjoying it, but I want to start with Honorable Groenewald. Groenewald is right when he says the University of UCT is using the language in the quota system to prevent, to block other students like Afrikaner students coming there. That is right to point out, but remember, a lot of indigenous students in this country have to go to all universities, English speaking, African speaking, and previously disadvantaged universities, and medium of instruction there is English. It is English because they have to learn in English because they are forced by circumstances to learn in English, because you can't be an engineer in Venda or Sotho or Zulu. If you must be, if you must have modern...
Agbare voorsitter,
Order, Honorable Kakan, just hold on a second. Is that
agbare
a point of,
voorsitter,
yes, is that a point of
is the
order?
honourable member prepared to take a question from me? It will be a simple question.
Order, Honorable
I can
members.
speak English, so that's why I'm asking me in English that he can understand.
Order, Honorable Groenewald. Let us attend to your question.
No.
Honorable Kekana, can you take a question?
No.
Okay.
Okay, I accept Chairperson. He sounds like an imperialist, Cecil John Rhodes.
No.
Thank you, Honorable Groenewald. You can sit down.
Just
Continue,
to
Kekana.
conclude the point I was making, I'm saying indigenous students in this country are forced to learn in English or Afrikaans at our universities, which is a very difficult thing for them, because ultimately, even if they were to learn in their languages, for as long as the industry and economy is running English or Afrikaans, they are forced to learn in those languages. So first of all, the main transformation must be there in the economy. The Germans' economy are in German, are owned by Germans. The French economy is owned by France, by the French. The English economy is owned by the English. It is only in Africa where indigenous people are not owning their own economies. And these have implications. This has implications for education, for all kinds of things. The second point to Professor, I knew when I say professor, the left will keep quiet. The second point is to Professor Honorable Pozzoli. Honorable Pozzoli said we are not matching up to international standard, and she quotes UK. No, the point is, how do you quote UK when UK was part of denying blacks education in this country? You know that up to today, the English will boast to the Africans and say, we have taught you apartheid during the days of segregation and Kalapa. So when they are responsible for the backwardness of education today, why must you compare us with them and expect us to match up with them in so short a time when they took so many years suppressing us, denying us education? I want to congratulate once more our minister. You have drawn the line of march, and so many of us are marching with you. Only a few are dragging behind. And this is because just for the certificate, though there are challenges with addressing the issue of certificate, and we really would want our students who qualify to get their certificate, some of the challenges are because their papers leaked. Some students don't put their IDs on the exam papers, but the main ones are because of the backlog. And the backlog is meaning that the doors of learning are opening and our communities are going in, education and learning. And there are so many certificates that must be issued that we need to beef up our system to issue certificate, like human resource and a procurement policy is already out, so that a new state information technology can be put in so as to deal with the allocation of certificates.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can you be assisted?
Chairperson? Chair? May I address
Yes,
you,
thank you.
please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Chair, I wonder if you could just make a ruling to inform our guests in the gallery not to participate in the debate. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Of course, it is correct. It is correct to indicate that as much as we are very happy for the guests to be part of us, but they should not participate in the debate. But we must appreciate that for almost the whole time of the debate, when we are now close to the end, they have behaved properly. And I think we must appreciate that. Can we now call the minister to close the debate?
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, allow me first of all, as I close, to just thank my special advisor, John Pampalis, who is going on retirement at the end of this month. And we've been in the trenches with him for the past 24 years in education. John, thank you very much. May you have many grandchildren and enjoy them in your retirement. Secondly, let me thank all those parties who actually support this vote. But I want to say this. Professor, through you, Chair, Professor Pozzoli, you say Hitler is raising his ugly head. You were at a Congress that was resuscitating Hendrik Verwoerd. And a man whose legacy we are still trying to deal with today. And what happened? Your leaders were actually walking on eggs, trying to defend Alistair Sparks, virtually insulting millions of black South Africans who actually suffered under Hendrik Verwoerd. Secondly, I suppose in the DA there are two types of sociologists. There's Professor Pozzoli and Dr. Wilmot James. I disagree with Dr. Wilmot James, but one thing I know, he will never manufacture wrong figures. The ratio of full-time equivalent students to instructional staff in South Africa is 29.3:1. I don't know where the figures that you are quoting actually comes from. That's the first thing. The second thing is basic. We have 26 universities in South Africa. We do not have 25 universities, as you say. Thirdly, also, I find it very rich coming from the DA to tell us and lecture us about sending students overseas. When here in the Western Cape, they are refusing to send poor students to study medicine in Cuba. And we have a shortage of doctors. They also do not want to do that. The other thing is that the Staffing South African Universities framework, we're starting with 274 million rands and 125 brand new academics as a start. But I must also say that, Honorable Kasim, honestly, the DA will be judged for what it is. It's an insult to these senior executives of SETAs who actually have got credible professional backgrounds.
Point of order.
Okay, it's not prepared. Can you sit down?
No. Even if I have time, it really is deeply offensive. Most of these SETA executives are people with professional integrity. Many of them, I found them there. For you to actually call them cronies, shame to the DA. Is it because most of them are black South Africans that they actually deserve to be called that? It is really very shameful.
Order.
And I also want to say...
Order, honorable members.
I also want to say to Honorable Groenewald.
Honorable Minister, just a second. Honorable members, you have debated, you have made points. Now is the time for the minister to respond. Order. Can we give the minister time to respond to your debate? You may proceed, Minister.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, I want to say to Honorable Groenewald, Afrikaans, I want to repeat, I have nothing against the Afrikaans language. But we are not going to defend Afrikaans language in a lager. Afrikaans has got to learn to live with other languages and be able to be strengthened in that way. We don't want to go back as to who is responsible for some of the negative attitudes towards Afrikaans. You were forcing us in 1976 to learn in Afrikaans. The majority of the people in this country. And I can tell you that changed the attitude of many black South Africans in the rest of the country towards Afrikaans. Not because we are trying to resuscitate and clean the image of Afrikaans as the ANC today. But what we are not going to have, we are not going to have universities that use language to exclude. You always use UCT. I hold no brief from UCT. But tell me the number of students who have gone to UCT to seek to be taught in Afrikaans, and what did UCT say? So you are just saying this, not because there is anything, because we are just trying to make a rather cheap political point. I'm sorry to say that. I want to say to cope, we are shifting enrollment patterns. We are almost equal now, TVET students, to university students. Not so long ago, we were like almost 1:3, university student to TVET students. And also, don't analyze the sitters through anecdotes. Point out the weaknesses of the sitters, but also point out the strengths and some of the achievements of some of the sitters on many fronts when it comes to work placement, internships, and learnerships, and other activities. But the problem, well, what do you expect from an organization that's an anecdote itself? So it can only be anecdotal in its own analysis. So that is what I'm actually challenging you. Babu Mbinda, I'm glad that we are supporting our budget vote. Honorable Mbinda from the PAC. We have reopened the Solo College, by the way, Agricultural College. So as we are actually reopening a whole range of other colleges that we have. I want to say that to the honorable members, especially those who come from the ANC, that we have raised a number of points that we are actually going to be taking up, working together. Babu Mponchan, I really do take your points, and I do appreciate that the IFP is actually supporting us. I want to end by challenging the EFF. Ngicela ukuthi umholi we-EFF akasiproviding a proof ukuthi uyafunda ngempela in a university noma cha.
Chairperson.
Order, Chair.
Chairperson.
Point of order.
Order. Order, order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Is that a point of order?
The point of order is that the minister can't just stand in a podium and say those things.
No.
The minister, he is the minister. He must supposed to have all the records under his leadership.
Okay.
Unless he's a fake minister of Communist Party.
Thank you very much. Can you sit down? That's not a point of order. Continue, Minister.
I don't go around just because I'm a minister looking for students' records. I am challenging the EFF to produce evidence. It's a question that I'm asking. I'm not saying that he is not. He appeared on television one day
On the
as
point
if
of
he was
order?
writing an exam.
On the point of order?
Let him provide proof
On the
to
point
us
of
if
order,
that
Chair.
indeed
Honorable
is the case.
On the point of order,
Just a second. Yes.
it is quite amazing that
Is
the
that,
minister.
is that a point
No,
of order?
Yes, yes, the point of order.
Continue.
I think it is not right for the minister to say that he can't go around looking for students who are in universities. The reports of the universities are very clear that the president of the EFF, commander-in-chief,
Honorable
is
member.
finishing his political science
Honorable member.
degree with the University of South Africa.
Thank
the
you.
minister must just try to get his facts
Thank
correct.
you. That is not a point of order. Proceed,
Chair.
Minister.
Chair.
Honorable Minister, proceed and
Chair,
conclude the debate.
I'm rising.
If Chairperson...
Chairperson, I'm calling a point of order here.
Just hold on, Honorable Minister. Just hold on, Honorable Minister. You have got 8. Continue.
Sit down, Minister. I'm talking.
No, no.
Sit down. I'm on the podium here. Please. Please, Koshoban, fake minister.
Honorable
Sit down.
Please.
Sit down.
Please don't behave
Thank
like
you.
that.
Chair,
Order.
Chair, we know very well that this minister is very, 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 very,
But that is
very,
not the
very,
point
very
of
skeptical of EFF with their leadership that they are very, very educated.
Honorable Maxson.
We know that the minister is afraid of the EFF leadership being very
Thank you very
educated in
much.
this house.
Can you sit
So he
down?
must stop being so low and he must
Sit down,
address the
honorable
issues that the nation is waiting.
It is not a point of order. Honorable Minister, complete the debate.
Uma efunda siyokwamukela lokho. Kuphela nje into ebengisho ukuthi ngabe kunjalo na umbuzo njengezibuzela wona. Siyabonga kakhulu siyaqhubeka sihlalo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Carter,
Chairperson,
the speaker has already left the podium.
I do know that the speaker is no
what are you
longer at the
on?
podium, but I have been standing up, but you have not been
Order,
recognizing me.
honorable members.
Honourable Chairperson, I
Yes.
actually just wanted to see on a question of privilege whether the Minister was also going to include the cheap honorary doctorates into his investigation.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. Members are reminded that the Extended Public Committee on Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries will meet at 1700 in the National Assembly. Yes. That concludes the debate and the business of this Extended Public Committee. This committee will now rise. Thank you.